You probably know someone who never talks about money, never shows off, but whenever it actually matters, the money is already there. 60-something. Unbothered. The kind of calm that looks unearned until you find out what's sitting underneath it. You are that person. Nobody at this table knows it yet. Your niece Mia is 26 and she has a business plan for an app that splits restaurant bills more fairly. She's been building the deck for 8 months. She has not built the app. She's at your kitchen table in Chambly on a Sunday, laptop open, talking about seed funding and total addressable market. And you're only half listening because you already know how this conversation ends. It ends the way it always does, with her asking carefully, like the question might be rude, how did you actually do it? You've been waiting 3 years for her to ask that. So instead of a number, you get the index card. It's in the kitchen drawer under the takeout menus, soft at the corners, the ink gone gray, 20 lines. 20 numbers in your own handwriting from a version of you that was 23 and had $9.40 to her name. Every one of these is a business. Okay, Winnie, then, you tell her. You've probably walked past all 20 of them this week and never once looked at who owned them. She laughs, the way people laugh at things they don't yet believe. If you only remember one, you say, make it the last line. It's the one that took the longest to understand. And it's the one that's making the most money right now, while we're sitting here. She looks at the card again. 20 lines, no logos, nothing that would survive a pitch competition. Just a list of the most unglamorous ways to get paid in America. None of these have a mission statement, she says, half joking. None of these need one, you say. Nobody's ever asked a laundromat what it stands for. She laughs again, but softer this time. The kind of laugh people make right before they start actually listening. You start at the top. 1. Laundromats. The roll of quarters is what you remember, not the machine. You were 23, coin laundromat on the edge of Tucker, 12 machines, a lease with 4 years left, sold to you by a retired teacher named Odessa, who'd run the place off handwritten logs and pure stubbornness for over a decade. The books were a mess. The cash underneath them wasn't. You paid $875 you didn't really have. First month, it cleared under $200 net. Nobody was impressed. Nobody knew. Here's the part that matters. Laundromats survive at almost 95% past the 5-year mark, in an industry where half of all businesses don't make it that far. A well-run one clears 6 figures a year at roughly 50% margins, and 90% of customers come back without being asked, because nobody negotiates with dirty clothes. The need doesn't take a recession off. You didn't fall in love with laundry. You fell in love with the fact that it didn't need you. That was the first line on the card. It would not be the last time something boring outperformed something exciting. 2. The car wash. Automated, self-standing membership model, $25 a month, wash whenever you want. You bought a stake and won 3 years after the laundromat once you'd learned what recurring actually meant on a balance sheet. The math is almost rude. A single automated wash can clear $150,000 to $200,000 a year in profit once it's running, and it mostly runs itself. People want a clean car. They do not want to wash it. That gap between want and willingness is the entire business. You met an operator once at a supplier's warehouse who'd scaled one wash into 6 figures a month by doing nothing clever at all. No disruption, no innovation. Just the same process, repeated in more locations. He called it boring. He said it like a compliment. You watched him talk for 20 minutes about vacuum stations and equipment loans, and you kept thinking about how nobody in this room would ever get profiled for it, and how none of them seem to mind. The equipment doesn't ask to be admired. It just runs, rain or Tuesday, whether or not anyone's watching it work. 3. Vending machine. You tried it before the laundromat, technically. A single machine in a medical office lobby in Sandy Springs, netting $185 its first month, which felt like nothing until you looked at what the industry actually pays per machine at scale. A single well-placed machine clears around $30,000 a year in revenue at roughly 30% margins. Call it $9,000 profit. Doing nothing but sitting there. That's one machine. Push to 30 or 40, spread across the right lobbies and gyms and break rooms, and you're in the range where operators clear up to $700,000 a year, working 2 days a week, because the only real job is negotiating the spot and refilling the stock. And the niche version pays even better than the average. Beauty product machines inside salons, bait machines near a lake, electronics in an airport terminal. The narrower the niche, the less competition, the higher the margin. You started with a vending machine, Mia says. I started with the drawer under my old kitchen sink, you say. The vending machine came second. 4. Junk removal. Trash doesn't stop existing, and that's the entire pitch. Waste management alone pulls over $20 billion a year picking up garbage, and you weren't trying to compete with a company that size. You just noticed the contracts renew themselves, forever, without anyone asking twice. You started with one truck and residential junk hauls. Old mattresses, a dead washer, the furniture nobody wants to admit they bought. There are operators running this exact model into 7 figures a year, and none of them look like it when you meet them. They look like a guy in a truck. That's the entire disguise. Somebody's trash, your income. That one didn't stay small for long. That's next. 5. Pressure washing. Under $5,000 to start. A machine, a truck, business cards. You charge $200 to $500 a job. Driveways, patios, the algae growing up the north side of a house nobody's looked at in years. Here's the part nobody tells you. You don't advertise this business. You clean one driveway on a street, and within a month, 3 neighbors have called. Because the result is sitting there in daylight for everyone to compare against their own. You did the first one yourself, on a Saturday, in Doraville, for a woman who'd been meaning to get her patio cleaned for 2 years and never got a quote she could stomach. It took 90 minutes. She paid you $280 and told 2 people before dinner. 6. Self-storage. Sandy Springs, 1 unit at a time. The storage industry does over $45 billion a year in the US, and 1 in 10 American households pays into it monthly. Margins run around 41%. There are more self-storage units in this country than McDonald's and Starbucks combined, and most of them are still independently owned, which means there was still room when you looked. The customer profile is the part that stuck with you. Average renter pays around $128 a month and stays 14 and a half months. Some stay for years, some genuinely forget what's in the unit and keep paying anyway. That is not a customer relationship. That's a standing order. 7. Pest control. Almost a $30 billion industry, heading toward $40 billion by 2030, made up mostly of small operators running 1 or 2 trucks. The number that got you was this: 85% of residential revenue in this industry comes from recurring contracts. You don't resell the service, you just don't cancel it. Pests don't stop existing either. Neither does trash. You're noticing the pattern now, aren't you? 8. Landscaping. You'll see the trucks with the trailers in every subdivision in Cobb County, and most people assume that's just a job. It's a business the moment you stop being the one holding the mower and start being the one who owns the accounts. 20, 30, 40 monthly contracts is predictable income with almost no barrier to get in. A commercial mower, a blower, and a willingness to work early. The gap between $40,000 a year mowing lawns and $200,000 running a crew isn't talent. It's the mental shift from operator to owner. You made that shift on paper before you made it in practice. 9. Commercial cleaning, not houses, office buildings, medical suites, school campuses. A single contract with one office building can run $3,000 to $10,000 a month, and it renews itself year over year without anyone reselling it. You bought a 14-client operation from a man named Walt, 63, 26 years in the business and tired of it. Annual revenue just under $1.4 million. Thin margins, nothing flashy. The crews come in after everyone else has gone home. Invisible when it works, noticed only when it doesn't. That's the whole appeal, if you think about it. We are at 10 businesses now, which means we're roughly at the halfway point of this list. And this is usually where people mentally check out, because the first half feels concrete and the second half starts to sound repetitive. It isn't. The second half is where the margins actually get strange. 10. Pool cleaning. Georgia doesn't have the pool density of Florida or Arizona, but you found a route anyway. Over 10 million residential pools in this country, most owners with zero interest in maintaining them personally. A tech running 40 clients on a route can clear $80,000 to $120,000 a year working half days. You show up, you clean, you collect, you move to the next address, and pools need maintenance in December too. Whether anyone's swimming or not, algae doesn't check the calendar before it grows. The route itself is the asset. Once 40 stops are locked into a loop, the business barely resembles work anymore. It resembles a very profitable errand you run every week. 11. Mobile detailing. Same idea as the car wash, except you go to them. A full detail runs $150 to $400, and 3 or 4 a day is $450 to $1,600 before the van's even parked overnight. No storefront, no rent, no permit fight with the county planning office. Just a van, supplies, and work good enough that people mention your name unprompted. 12. Scrap metal. The global scrap recycling market is projected past $770 billion by the early 2030s, and you don't need any piece of that number. You need a truck and a relationship with construction sites and remodel crews who'd otherwise pay someone to haul debris away. There's a term for it, urban ore. Electronic waste carries gold, silver, copper inside it. What someone else throws away is inventory if you're the one who shows up for it. You started as the middleman, nothing more, collecting scrap from job sites and remodels, weighing it, selling it to the recycling plant off Moreland Avenue. No manufacturing, no processing, just the willingness to be the person who takes the call when a contractor doesn't want a dumpster full of copper wire sitting on site over the weekend. 13. Ice vending. This is the one that made Mia actually put her laptop down. A standalone ice machine, bagged ice, self-serve, running 24 hours with no employee on site, can clear over $40,000 a year. The machine costs around $35,000 and pays for itself inside 18 months. Faster near campgrounds and RV parks, you produce frozen water and sell it. That's the entire operation. That's insane, Mia says. That's the point, you tell her. 14. ATMs. A machine runs $2,000 to $3,000. You place it in a bar, a gas station, a convenience store, and take $2 to $3 per transaction. One machine clears $500 to $1,500 a month, not life-changing on its own. 10 or 15 of them, refilled and serviced on a route, is a different kind of number entirely, and almost all of it is passive once it's placed. The only real work is the cash itself, driving the route, refilling the cassette, making sure the machine in the dive bar off Buford Highway never runs dry on a Friday night. Because a dry machine on a Friday night is a dry machine forever in that owner's memory. 15. Portable restrooms. Nobody wants to talk about this one, which is exactly why it works. Every construction site, every festival, every outdoor event needs restrooms. And somebody has to own the units. A single unit costs $500 to $1,000 and rents for $75 to $175 a day. An operator with 50 units is sitting on the six-figure annual revenue without a single glamorous thing about it. You are not going to lead with this one at a dinner party. You are going to lead with the number. 16. Pet waste removal. 90 million households in this country have a dog. And most of those owners hate this one specific task enough to pay someone else to do it. $15 to $25 a visit, weekly. 50 clients is close to $50,000 a year. 100 clients doubles it. All you need is a scooper, a bag, and the willingness to not care what it sounds like at a dinner party. This was the one line on the card Mia laughed at hardest. You let her. You laughed at it too, the first time you ran the numbers. Then you stopped laughing somewhere around client 30. 17. Parking lot striping. Every strip mall, every church lot, every school needs its lines repainted. And in a lot of counties, it's a legal requirement, not a preference. Equipment runs $3,000 to $5,000. A single job pays $500 to $2,000 in an afternoon. And almost nobody knows this business exists, which is the entire reason the margins hold. 18. Appliance repair. Washers, dryers, refrigerators. When they break, people need someone today, not next week, and they'll pay $100 to $400 for that urgency. Replacing a fridge runs $1,500 to $3,000. Fixing one runs closer to $200. The math answers itself. The technicians who know this trade are aging out faster than anyone's replacing them. That's not a warning, that's the opening. Learn to fix 3 or 4 common failures. Most of it's a weekend of YouTube and a basic certification. And you have a trade almost nobody under 40 is bothering to learn in a market that will never stop needing it. 19. Notary and loan signing services. Cheapest business on the whole card to start. Certification runs $50 to $150, depending on the state. Once you're certified, a single document signing pays $75 to $200, and mortgage closings run $125 to $300 a session. 3 or 4 signings a day is $500 to $1,200, with no inventory and no office. You added something to this one that most notaries never think about. You speak enough Spanish to work with buyers who specifically need it. That single detail opened a piece of the market almost nobody else in the county could reach. That's 19. 19 businesses that all share the same quality. Nobody's ever asked you about a single one of them at a party. Before the 20th, Mia needs to hear this part. Because a list of numbers is easy to admire and easy to file away as someone else's story. You know, I didn't do this alone at the start, you tell her. I had a coworker, same department, same salary, same same year we both got hired, Talia. Talia and you started the same week at a mid-sized firm in Buckhead. $54,000 a year. Same open plan floor, same view of the parking deck. Talia spent 2 years designing the perfect business. A boutique consulting practice with a name, a logo, a website that took 4 months, and a freelancer she paid $2,800 to build. She was still tweaking the homepage copy when you bought the roll of quarters and the stake in a 12-machine laundromat nobody else wanted. You read a library copy of The Millionaire Next Door on your lunch breaks that year, the one that studied actual American millionaires, and found the boring, repeated finding every time: not income, not inheritance, not a perfect idea. Just people who owned something ordinary and didn't stop. Talia's website launched eventually. It was beautiful. It brought in 1 client in its first year. You didn't have a website. You had a laundromat, then a car wash stake, then 15, now 30, vending machines nobody could see unless they were already standing in front of one. 5 years later, Talia is still at the same firm, 1 title higher, still telling people about the consulting practice on the side. You are the reason her actual salary hasn't had to cover much of anything extra, because you've been quietly buying her lunch and covering her half of vacations for 2 years now, and she still doesn't fully know why you can afford to. She thinks you got lucky. You didn't correct her. That's not a dig at Talia. It's the whole point. The idea was never the problem. The waiting was. The 20th is the one you actually built your life around. 20. Wash and fold delivery. You didn't build a second laundromat for this one. You didn't need to. You partnered with laundromats that already existed, including, eventually, the one you already owned in Tucker, and offered pickup and delivery on top, keeping 30 to 40% of what came through. It combines everything the other 19 do individually. Recurring income. Low competition, because almost nobody in a mid-sized metro area has actually built it out yet. Constant demand. And the one variable people always underprice: convenience. This is a generation that pays to have food delivered and dogs walked. Doing their own laundry is the last habit standing, and it's already starting to fall. 100 recurring clients at $30 to $50 a week is $12,000 to $20,000 a month. No storefront, no new machines, just logistics, consistency, and a laundromat you already owned quietly working twice as hard. You didn't invent a single thing. You took something that already existed and added the one ingredient people will pay extra for every single time: not having to do it themselves. Mia sits with the card for a while after you finish. 20 lines, no logos, nothing that would survive a pitch competition. Why didn't you start with the wash and fold thing, she asks, if it's the best one? Because I didn't understand convenience yet, you tell her. You have to actually own something boring before you understand why people will pay to avoid it. She's quiet for a second. Then she says the thing you were waiting for, the thing under the app and the deck and the 8 months of slides. I don't want to knock on doors, she says. I don't want people to think I'm... She doesn't finish it. She doesn't have to. You know exactly which word she's avoiding. Small, you say for her. You think it looks small. She doesn't argue. It looks small to me too, you say. For about 4 months. Then the 4th deposit cleared and I stopped caring what it looked like. Here's what nobody puts in a pitch deck. The businesses that make people money quietly are never the ones people brag about. They're not going to make a good caption. Nobody photographs a pressure washer. Nobody frames a notary stamp. But clothes get dirty whether the economy is booming or not. Pests come back regardless of interest rates. Appliances break down whether or not there's a recession on the news that morning. None of these 20 businesses need anyone to be impressed by them to keep working. That's the actual advantage. Not that they're clever, but that they don't require an audience to function. The loud version of wealth needs to be seen to feel real. The quiet version doesn't need anyone in the room at all. You slide the card back across the table. Pick one, you say. Not the app, one of these. Start this month. Mia looks at the list again. 20 lines in handwriting that used to belong to someone with $9.40 and a roll of quarters. She circles line 6, self-storage. You don't tell her that line 6 alone, 20 years later, is still depositing into an account she's never seen the balance of. Some things are better learned the slow way. She asks you one more question before she closes the laptop. How many people know all 20 of these are yours? You think about it for longer than the question probably deserves. You say, now. That's the whole answer. That's always been the whole answer. Mia closes the laptop. Not because the conversation's over, because she doesn't need it open anymore. She takes a photo of the index card with her phone instead, 20 lines in your handwriting, and slides it back across the table like it might disappear if she holds onto it too long. You put it back in the drawer, under the takeout menus, exactly where it's been for 20 years. Nobody who opens that drawer looking for a chopstick is ever going to find it. That's fine. It was never for them. What would the list look like if you sat down tonight and actually wrote yours?